Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the RE Connects podcast, and today we're discussing something I feel like a lot of people underestimate the power of, which is your network. So it's all about networking, how to leverage opportunities, how to create opportunities, and how to actually be authentic and not like cringe at yourself or feel like you're begging someone. So today I'm joined with Nadia, who is the founder of Three Cherries Events. So please could you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Nadia, co-founder of Three Cherries Events. And what we do do in-person events around networking, entrepreneurship and growth, because we recognise it's all very well being online, it's so important, but actually to grow and develop yourself, you have to come outside, meet people, speak to people, look people in the eye. And that's how we met, right?
Yeah, it was.
So we met at a networking event, and it's so important that I try to be what I symbolise, because it's so easy to be online and talk about things, but it's important to go out there, meet people and network with people. So just to give you a little backstory briefly, I think I'm so big on networking because I'm dyslexic, and before I just naturally would prefer to speak to people at work, because to send the lengthy emails, it's long.
It's
like
long.
Who's got and then it will take me ages to draft email just because I process information differently from people. So it just takes me really long to craft an email. But if I went and see hey and have that conversation face to face, I find that I was more able to create a brand and a rapport with people than if I was written it was just too stressful for me. So I've always been quite good at talking to people and communicating with people.
And what made you feel like you needed to start this networking venture, like start doing networking events?
I think I didn't even think about it as networking, and I think that term sometimes gives people the ick. Like networking, it's got a lot of cringe, like you said. But I think of networking as meeting people, right? And how do you meet people that with networking in a strategic way, in a way that's going to help your career or your business? And there's nothing wrong with meeting people because you want to just get out there and expose yourself to different types of people.
Do you feel like the fact that you built a reputation and like you built a personal brand helped you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just break it down, just to speak to someone who doesn't know, like, you want to network, right? People always say networking is your net worth, but what does that actually mean? It just means, for example, studies have shown that 80% of jobs go to people that you already know or an associate. So you might think, oh, why am I not getting the promotion? It's not necessarily because you're not the best at the job, but sometimes those jobs are already decided maybe at the pub. We hear those conversations all the time. But I know sometimes you can think of it quite negatively, especially as a black woman, as a black people. There's institutional racism, so many forces against us, but I like to think about what's inside of my control. What can I control? And as much as people have unconscious bias, let's use that unconscious bias to our advantage. So if you start talking to those people, promoting yourself so that they know what you stand for. Oh, Nadia's a hard worker. And I know another thing I always say, you never do business with someone you don't like.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't. And why would you promote someone that you don't like? Now, I'm not saying you're going to be fake.
That's
absolutely. And I think as well when you're young, I remember I remember there was this TikTok that went viral with this young girl saying, oh, I don't want to go lunch with my colleague, I'm not going. And I can understand that because that environment can be so different to what you're used to. And so sometimes you have to make a strategic step to know, actually, I'm here to work, I'm here to further myself, so I need to let these people know a little bit about me. Now, I'm not saying you're going to tell them everything that you do, absolutely not, and you're quite careful of what you relieve to people, because everyone at work's not your friend.
You don't need to share all your entire business.
No, you don't.
Me and my boyfriend had an argument yesterday. They don't really care about that.
But you're quite strategic. You tell them what your hobby is.
So would you say like having a good like network is like a career cheat code, or do you feel like it's not, like you need to work hard?
Do you know what it is as well? There's this shift, and I really agree with Gen Z. Like, they sometimes get a bad rap, but I'm Gen X and identify as Gen Z.
We will take you on.
Because this of doing hard work, no sir. My parents used to say, work twice as hard, and I then used to say that to my son, but I've stopped now. We want the soft life. So it's not about
Working harder.
It is working. It's not necessarily working harder, but working smarter.
Definitely.
In the sense that as a woman as well, sometimes we're not getting those senior positions because sometimes people don't know about your work. Me, I will promote myself at work. So, for example, if I do something, I will let people know, oh, I've done this, oh, I've delivered this, but not in a cringy sort of way, but in a way that you are self-promoting yourself.
Yeah.
Waiting for someone to give you a promotion, it might not necessarily happen. So if we take on about networking, again, you have to network with a plan. Like, think about what do you want to achieve. So there's networking where you might just want to meet friends, you know, it's so hard to meet like-minded people. There's networking for your career and there's networking for your business. So you have to be quite strategic and what do you want to achieve. So if you're networking, for example, for your career, you can network at work. Don't sleep on that. Like, think about, there's people that I've nurtured a relationship for years, you know, and I'm quite lucky I've worked in the same place for a long time. But if I see, like, you just know when you see a powerful woman walk in the room, you don't even need to know, you don't need to know her job description. So rather than being shy, I'll walk up and say, hi, I'm Nadia. You look really nice today, and you build that rapport. Next time you see that person, you might just talk, you might look, oh, okay, she's this, you see, oh, I noticed this, actually I do this. So you, again, and also as well that I want to communicate is about offering value first. You know, so much time we look to the person to think, oh, what can I get from them? But actually offer value. So if you're trying to nurture that career at work, if they're working on a project, oh, I saw you was doing this, have you thought of this? Or volunteering, take up extra tasks. So that person, you're already building a brand as being motivated, you're enthusiastic, and you're being strategic as well. True. Because that's what companies want. They want people that's going to see the bigger picture of the organisation.
For instance, let's say someone goes to like a networking event with people from different like industries or like different levels of seniority. How can you offer value if you feel like you don't know what value you can add to someone that's like a managing director and you're just like an analyst?
Well, firstly, what I would do, LinkedIn. Do not sleep on LinkedIn, especially when you're a junior person. I think as a junior person, you're always going to have that vision that you're going to see things that the senior person is not going to see. So I think if you're going to a networking event, for example, research all the speakers. If there's 3 or 4 speakers, there's going to be 1 or 2 that you're going to resonate with more. Have a look on their LinkedIn post, comment on their LinkedIn post. Please don't just drop an emoji or say that's a good.
That's great.
No, read all the way to the end, and if they make a last point, highlight that last point in the comment, because then it shows to that person that you've actually read. And we all have egos, right? How many friends that I've been able to have who have like big followings just because I have been stalking them on LinkedIn. As soon as they post, I know I'm on there, I'm the first comment, I'm liking it, or I'll add something. With ChatGPT, you've got no excuse.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's, if the director's posted something that's quite technical, I would look it up. Oh, actually, this was something I was working on. This is, and put a thoughtful comment. Okay, you might not be noticed the first or second time, but if you do that consistently, they're going to notice you.
Yeah.
Then it's that time to slide into their DMs to say, oh, you're going to this conference, I'm going to go to, do you know what, I did this once to someone I was trying to get to know.
Yeah.
And I told her that, oh, I'm going to be there, look out for me, I'm going to be in a bright orange dress. Like, I literally was wearing this dress, she couldn't miss me. And you know what, I arrived early so I can calm my nerves, I know where it was, and I sat at the front. That's another thing people don't want to do. I'll go to an event and everybody's no, you're sitting right at the front. You make sure you catch their eye and you ask a question.
Yeah.
First one. And I know it's really, really cringy, but this is how you build confidence, right? Because then when it does come to the interview, you've done all that. You've laid the groundwork where you've made yourself uncomfortable. You've laid the groundwork where you've put yourself in the spotlight. You've made the groundwork where you've done your research. You've made the groundwork where you're nurturing relationships. So I think those are some of the strategy. And trust me, it's a bit cringy at first, but when you've done it a couple times and you get noticed, but in a positive way. As I said, you've done your research before. Yeah. You're asking thoughtful questions to that person. So I think that really helps.
Yeah. would you say that for someone that might be like a bit awkward or like anxious, what like initial advice would you give them to kind of overcome it?
So I think always think about, why do you feel awkward? Like sometimes you have all limiting beliefs. For me, it was being dyslexic. I self-sabotaged and had so much limiting beliefs, like, you know, that no one's, that I wasn't intelligent, that, you know, why can't I communicate like other people communicated? But I've realised that being dyslexic is my superpower. So if you're feeling anxious, why is it that you're feeling anxious? Like, do a little bit of self work before. There's so many books or programs that you can put yourself on to try to overcome that anxiousness, and you find that it's often a limiting belief that you have. So if you can work on that, but at the same time you can do all the research and growth, but you sometimes have to make yourself just do it. Make but have a plan. Like, I don't believe in just throwing yourself in the deep end. Like, have a plan. Like, even if you just said, I'm just going to go one networking event every 6 months, so you've chosen a really good one to go to that you think is going to benefit your career. You research the people that's going to be attending, you arrive early, reach out to the organisers as well. Sometimes organisers are very supportive. They know that some people might be a bit shy to go. And then just try to put away your phone. Don't use your phone as a crutch. And then
that's me. I'll be hiding a corner of my phone.
No, don't use your phone. And then what you just have a few practice questions that you would ask. I hate when people say, "Oh, what do you do?"
Oh yeah. So like the whole elevator pitch. What's your thoughts on that?
I am just. It's just for me personally. If I'm going to a career event, maybe for business I might, but for a career event I don't have an elevator pitch, just because I just believe that we're more than our job titles, that you're trying to build rapport and connection with that person. So, you know, be genuine. I would just say, okay, what's your passion?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. And then that person might talk about something that's not their job, or what are you working on right now? That's really interesting.
How would you, like, what advice would you give to someone to stay genuine in the conversation? Because it's so easy to be like, oh, what do you do? Oh yeah, I work in this company. Oh, that's nice. What do you do on a day-to-day? So it's very boring and very like, ugh. So how can you keep the conversation something that's not like, I just asked ChatGPT to give me a list of questions and I'm just...
But then that goes back why you're going to the event. You have to be quite clear, like, why are you going? Are you going there because you want to meet the guest speakers? You want to hear more about what they're saying, or the audience? You have to be really clear as to why you're going to the event, so that will inform the discussion that you're having. So if you speak to someone, and be honest, if you speak to someone that you think, oh, actually, that's not really what I want to do. Say, oh, it's really nice to speak to you, but I'm really keen to speak to X. And then you can just always end the conversation. They can always move on, or just be honest with people.
And I saw in one of your posts you mentioned like curiosity. Like, how important do you think like just being curious about something is?
No, I think it's really is important, and it goes back to what I said before, offer value. Like, I always devote about half an hour or a day or a couple hours a week just to learn and develop yourself, so that when you go to somewhere you can offer value. So if I'm going to an event on career about tech, I'm trying to read up what's the latest happening, so I can have a conversation with the person. Oh, did you see this article on this new development at Google? Or I'm always putting people on like where to go to get the best networking events, you know, which organizations to sign up to, where to get discs. So I'm always trying to be useful to people, and I find that people naturally want to support you back. I
feel like that's what a lot of people lack. Like, in terms of like going to a networking event, they'll just go thinking, I'll find a client or I'll find a job there, but they don't actually do the research beforehand. Like, even me, I'm guilty of this. Like, I'll just go there, but I have no idea what the event is actually about. So then, like, when I'm trying to have the conversation with someone, it's not going anywhere because I don't have value or the knowledge to actually bring or like add to the conversation. And now just like a few people also feel like rejection, like in terms of going to an event. It's like, what if they don't want to speak back to me, or what if they don't want to talk to me? So like, how should you kind of like overcome that fear?
To be honest, I still get rejected now. Yes. And you know, like, you're vibing with someone and you think, oh yeah, we've gotten really well, you email them and then they don't get back to you. It's okay. It's just part of life. And then again, it's about building up your self-esteem. you know. And I think if you're really shy, normally I would say to go to a networking event by yourself, but now sometimes I've got networking buddies where we have a similar interest. And so if I'm feeling a bit nervous, or, you know, I know I should go, but I don't really want to go, I would say we'll have a network buddy, and then we'll go together, and then we'll split up. And at the end of the night, we'll come together at the end to have that moral support when you're going to the station.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you do need that mod. And then that's why sometimes I go to an event, and if I meet you, for example, and we just become friends, that's cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a financial transaction. So we'll keep in touch. And now, look, I'm on your podcast. After here, we'll nurture that professional relationship. If I see anything, I'll be like, oh, this is interesting, I'll send it to you. And then you just keep that relationship going. And it brings me to the next point, that rejection it's actually good, because that means you're not wasting your time. Actually, do you know what's the hardest thing about networking?
What would you say?
What would you say?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I literally, it's like the follow-up, like literally after I go to an event, I see you, we have a good conversation, but then afterwards, empty, like nothing's happened, no conversation after. I just have a +1 LinkedIn connection, but it's not going anywhere. So I feel like that's my biggest challenge.
And it's everyone's biggest challenge, to be fair. And it's my biggest challenge, especially since I go to a lot of networking event. But then again, it comes back to what I said, is networking with a strategy and a plan. So when you meet someone, I've got like a spreadsheet where I put people in. Yes.
I need to do that.
Where I put people in, where I met them, how I can offer them value, what is their area. So then so should we take a step back? So when you finish a networking event, if you've spoken to a couple of people, you've exchanged socials, then within 24 hours or on the way home, I've looked up on your post, I've commented, and I've shared information. If you're a service-based business, I might recommend you to some friends. If you're a product-based business, then, you know, I might give you a review on something. So it's really, don't just put smiley emojis, like put something thoughtful, like you really looked at their post. And then after that, then set up a face-to-face meeting. That's so important to meet someone, because again, it takes about 60 hours to move from an associate to a trusted friend. And then because then it goes back to what I said before, all those contacts you've done are just associates. You need to move to the next level where you build a trusted relationship. So, you know, and you're not going to be able to keep up with anyone, but that's fine. But that's why you have your spreadsheet. So you then think, okay, this person's really helpful. And then you think about it strategically as well. So you can network with someone who's your peers. Don't sleep on networking with people on the same level as you, who are maybe new to networking. They could then become your networking buddies. You're both in it together. True. Because I think sometimes people think they will network 2 or 3 above. But networking like that, it's great, but it's a bit more challenging, because those people are also networking. They want to network
get something
above. So why are they going to turn back to you? But I also say as well, then you network with people who might be below you, who are perhaps students. So you're sort of giving back, and it creates that support loop that I said. And it goes back to what I said about Beth. Do you remember Beth? Yes. So I met her at a networking event. It was Yes. And we were just chatting, and she's lovely. And sometimes you just have a natural rapport with someone.
Definitely.
You just click.
Definitely.
And that's human nature. See, me and you, it's just natural as human. And then ever since, I always make sure I like her post. She's been really helpful to me. I look, you know, she's just really inspiring with what she's doing.
Definitely.
So you just keep in contact with someone. You prioritize that relationship, and sometimes those relationships, nothing might come. What I call nurture those relationships for like 2-3 years. So in 2 years time, if you need to ask Beth for something, you can, because you've been really helpful. You know, you've been really, you haven't just ghosted her. Do you know what I mean? You've kept that relationship going. So I think that's a strategy that I've used.
Definitely. How would you say someone should, like, let's say I've built a connection with someone, how can I now convert it or change it to an opportunity that would benefit me? So like now the transactional bit.
But then that's what it is, because people can smell that for a mile out.
Definitely.
So then always think, what value can I offer that person? Switch it around. Like, how can I be helpful to that person? So if you're networking with your peers, it's okay if you think you're both on, organize a face-to-face meeting, go for a coffee, actually meet them, and then that will make an assessment of how motivated that person is to meet you too. Because if they're being long, just leave it, just move on. But if they think, okay, you're going to be helpful to me, then you'd find that you can meet up, or if you can't, have a virtual coffee chat, see what their pain points are, see how you can help them, and take it from there. But if you're looking to network with someone 2 or 3 steps above you, that's more a mentorship or sponsorship relationship, and then that's where you have to be more strategic. That's going to take a bit more time to do.
What's the difference between a mentorship and a sponsorship?
Well, a mentorship, so it's a lot easier if you think about it. For example, if you're a manager or someone within your team could be your mentor, someone who's sort of in the same position of you, who understands it, who will guide you. That's why I think of a mentorship. Whereas a sponsor is someone who you would love to be. There might be, if you think about it in a corporate setting, they're going to be in rooms that you're not in yet. So then that's why now, when it go back to where I was talking about you building those relationships at work, you would nurture that sponsor that you probably only speak to occasionally when you see her in the kitchen or in the lift. And then you start building that rapport. It's like, oh yeah, she said like, oh Nadia, email me. I'm just following up this conversation. Here's the link I'm going to send to you. Fantastic. Oh Nadia, that's really helpful. Oh, what do you think about this? And then you slowly build those relationships, and then you can come in and ask, oh actually, I would really like your help with this. What do you think about this? And then slowly you can sort of slide in there and say, I would like you to help me to be my mentor or be my sponsor. And what the sponsorship mean is that they have to trust you. They have to know that you can deliver. And then what they will do, they'll champion you. So if there's a project or something come up, they're like, oh, Nadia's really good. Because those conversations that you have at the water cooler, at the pub, they're going to say, oh, Nadia's really good. I spoke to her. She's really motivating. She's a really go-getter, to people that you might not be in those rooms. So that's the difference with a sponsor. Or a sponsor in business could be someone that you're looking to maybe finance your business, to help you in that respect, or to give you open doors. For example, there's another for my business, there's this other lady that I look up to, and she's doing a fantastic job. So what I do is that I've offered to volunteer. Volunteer. And then I think she was a bit skeptical at the beginning, but I kept offering. Anything she's done, I was there. Yes, I forwarded her everything, and now she knows who I am. She thinks I'm genuine now. She even gave me her number.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say, that it's taken me about a year to nurture that relationship. But at the end of the day, when you think about it from her perspective, people are always asking her to do things for them. So it's nice when someone actually takes a genuine interest in her. That's really help. And we're all human beings, but you're not going to do it. You can't do it to everyone that you want, but you just have to be quite strategic and thoughtful and think through what you're trying to achieve. I
feel like the reason a lot of people also stop like asking for like mentors or sponsors, or just going to an event to ask for something, is because it's a thing of, why will they help me? So it's like, how can you overcome that type of thought?
But it goes back to what I said before, offer value. Because naturally now, that event's organizer, she naturally wants to help me now. She's like, oh Nadia, look at this, oh you should do this. So naturally, in human nature, if I help you, naturally you'll help back. I'm not going to say it's happening in all circumstances, but again, if you don't have a mentor who wants to do good for you, why would you want them to be your mentor or your sponsor anyway?
That's true.
Do you see what I mean? So you have to have a relationship and a rapport with that person. So, and I think it takes time, a sponsor is not going to turn around and help you straight away. You have to offer value to them first, and don't sleep on networking online. Like their videos, do a stitch on their videos, offer your own thoughts on what they said, be the thought leader in your industry. Even if you're a junior position, things are always happening in industry. This is your opportunity on LinkedIn now to think, oh, this is happening. Okay, what are my thoughts? Turn it around. When I go to an event, don't just post that I go to an event. What is your number one takeaway? What are the top 3 things that you've learned? What do you think people should do, or if I was a director of my company, these are the few things I want to do. Be tenacious, take risks, but in a calculated way. You're not just going to just throw things out there out of nowhere. You've done your research, you know, you're putting your own spin on it. You're not making something up completely new, unless you're creative.
That's true. And just like another question is like, when going to like networking events, it's like quite easy to gravitate towards people who look like you. So like going to like someone that's black or like a woman. So do you think that limits you as a person, or should you like stick to the people you think you feel more comfortable with?
No, I'm really glad you asked that question, because that's another one of my pillar, is to diversify your network. So at Three Cherries Events, although we are 3 women, and to be fair, a lot of our events are women, actually we think men is an important part of that conversation. So and also as well, diversify your network. The other day I went to a creative networking event because I just wanted to see creatives, what was happening in that
that's
space.
The whole curiosity aspect.
Yes. And then I found good people who might want to be content creators, and then I can then pass them on to my network. You know, so you become and then I also go to tech networking events as well, because technology is such a massive space in our lives. And another thing I'm really passionate about is about AI, saying to people that, especially in the black space, black community, to see AI as an opportunity rather than a threat for now. Like there's a lot of
for now.
Yes, because there's a lot of opportunities now that's out there that you can use AI. Be the first to use AI to help you. You know, to be. That's why your creativity and being authentic is so important now, because anyone can get that.
Literally.
Yeah, even at work, I've seen the difference in my presentations now. People want storytelling. They don't want facts. Anyone could Google facts.
Yeah, they want to feel a connection.
The other day I went to a finance networking event. You know, it's not my first choice, but I know there's things I need to improve in my financial space, and I didn't have a lot of information. And again, it was so motivating. And then I met so many people there that looked like me, sounded like me, and it was just really good to go to a finance networking event, and then I can follow up and know who in those spaces that I can trust. So that was really helpful. So don't always go to the same type of event. So if I'm a creative, I tell creatives, don't go to creative networking events. Why are you going there? They're your competition. You should be going to tech events.
Find ways
because tech people know nothing about creative. So if you're a content creator, if you're a photographer, go to business events, because they need photographers, content creators. If I'm a podcast person, I'll be going to pitching events to go and pitch my podcast to get funding so I can scale. I'm not going to go to another creative event. There's too much competition there.
How do you remain authentic and not feel like you're forcing it? Like, I understand that you have to add value, but before you even add the value, you can or even propose adding value. How can you just be authentic, I guess? Okay, so
I would say, what's your passion? What if I just met you at a networking event and I asked you, what's your passion? What would you say?
I like helping people.
There you go. So how can you not add value if you're helping people? So, you know.
But from your point of view, how the conversation now? Like, what would you say to me?
If I say helping people.
I
said, okay, that's amazing. I love that. What's the best result you've ever had from helping someone?
Okay, that's good. I feel like that's another thing of like some people lack. It's like the follow-up question aspects. Like they don't know what questions to keep asking, or like how to keep the conversation like flowing.
Always listen more than you speak. You know, that's another thing I say, because people will tell you a lot and you've got time to judge and sum up that person. And again, if you see the person talking a lot and then don't ask you anything, that's not my preference. Just keep it moving. So why are you forcing that conversation? I'll blame you then. Like, why would you want to speak to someone who doesn't want... Just keep it moving. I think, so long as you're not rude, there's one time I was speaking to this lady, she just looked at me and walked off. I was like...
that's rude.
Yes,
that is so rude.
That had me for days.
You know, I wouldn't go to another event after that.
I was like, but you know what? I spent it. Okay, she's a boss lady. She knew what she was coming there, and clearly what I said wasn't good enough. And there was another time I went to a networking event, and I was talking to people in the lady told me, oh, you got something in your mouth. I was like, no, I was speaking to 2 or 3. I was like, so these things do happen. Then you learn. So when I go to networking, I don't eat. I make sure I eat first. I never drink alcohol. Do you know? So you kind of learn. So none of us is perfect.
Yes.
You are going to face rejection. And that's good because that sets you up for being rejected at work, rejected for business. It's okay.
Yeah. And another thing I think that helps people is like just being well versed in like a lot of things, like just know a little about a lot, so that way you can like keep the conversation going. Like let's say they mention AI, even if you just read one AI article, you kind of have something to mention. Or if it's like I like sports, you know a bit about sports. Oh my god, yeah, what sports do you play? So like just knowing a little about a lot is something I feel like has helped me. And on to the next question. Do you feel like it's a numbers game or more about being intentional when you go to a networking event?
Yeah, good question. Because you know what? In March, I did this challenge where I went to as many networking events as possible. I went to 19.
I was like, how are you finding that?
One day I went to 3. I started at 9. I didn't get home until 12.
That's ridiculous.
But you know what? I had such a good time. There was not one event that I went to and I didn't regret it. Now, could I do that every month? Absolutely not. But I just did it just to challenge myself and see what I could achieve from that. And I think the first thing is I never go into regretting an event. Even if I just spoke to one person, I still had a contact and I still came away from learning something. Because remember when you go to networking event, there's speakers there.
Yeah.
So you're there to actually learn something from the speakers. Don't sleep on that. Follow up with the speakers. I think the second thing that I noticed is, well, you have to have a plan.
Yeah. Definitely.
So to go back to your last question where you said, oh, have a broad interest, that's good, but then that says to me that you don't know what you're there at the networking event for. So if someone's speaking about sports and I'm interested in sports, why am I having that conversation? Now, if it's just the beginning to build rapport, like if it's a big match on and they say, oh, did you watch the England match? Yeah, we're human, right?
Yeah.
But if they're gonna have the whole conversation about sports when I'm not into sports, I'm here to AI, then that's not your person. So always think, why are you at the networking event? That's your number one driver, and that will then inform where you are. Does that sound?
So would you say like being intentional about who you build a connection with is more important than just adding as many LinkedIn connections
absolutely yeah, because it doesn't make sense, because nurturing those relationships with people is so important. Again, it goes back to what I've said before. It takes about 60 hours to move from an associate to those LinkedIn to a trusted friends where they want to help you. So it's going to be very hard for you to be able to do that. But if you're in a junior position in a company, then absolutely, like for 6 months or 3 months, you can say, I'm trying to build as much contact as I can, but not just a numbers game. You have to make sure you can follow up with those people. You can meet them for coffee or a virtual chat. You can offer value. So if you can do the numbers game, then absolutely. But if you can't, then it's more better to be intentional and think about those relationships. And do you have the time to build those relationships? Yeah.
That's true. You mentioned going to 19 events. How did you find them?
There's Eventbrite, one of the best platform to find networking events, and then you'll filter whether you want business events or social events. And there's nothing wrong with networking socially to meet people. And then there's organizations like the Dot, where every Monday they will send you networking events that you could go to. If you're a small business owner, you must sign up to the Digital Boost. They're a fantastic organization. Also as well, when you go to these events, you'll find that what I do is I follow the top 20 people within my industry. They all have newsletters, right? Sign up to their newsletters and actually read the newsletters or at least skim the newsletters, because that's where, imagine if they've got like the Black Tech Fest. Have you heard of them? They're huge, right? So they've advertised their tickets already and it's 25% discount, because networking can be quite expensive. So if you know that's the one event I want to go to for the year, sign up to the newsletter, you've got your 25% discount. And if that's the one event you want to go to, try to get the most expensive value ticket you can. So if you can afford VIP, go to VIP, because then you're going to be in spaces with people who you can network, who are probably going to be higher value, who are going to be equally as motivated as you are. So, you know, so then that's what I'm saying, have a plan.
Yeah.
If you find that you can't afford that ticket, they have free tickets, go early. Yeah. And then have a look at who's going to be at the event. So then that's why I said, you just have to really have a plan of action of what you want to do. So don't sleep on newsletters. Check those newsletters from the top companies that you want to go to. Eventbrite is a fantastic space to go to. And you find that big organizations are also having their new, like Adobe Sign has their networking event. Google has their networking events. And they tend to all be free, but you have to be really quick to sign up. So that's what I'd recommend that people do.
And would you say it's better to go to like these big corporation like events, or like these big events, or like more niche events, like where you can build like more personal connections with people?
I think you could do both, because I love the Black Tech Fest, because you have big names that you might not have access to normally. And then, so if I was going to go to that type of, or the Black British Business Show, that was fantastic. I love. And another thing, so even though I don't have a business, I would still go to the Black Business Show, because you're networking with like-minded people. You're networking with people who are motivated, high-value individuals who want to grow, who want to change their lives. Those are the people that you need to be in that space. Just being there alone is motivating and gives you traction in your journey, and you can connect with people that you might not connect with from day to day. So
Sweet. And now just a few quick 5 questions just to wrap it up. What's one thing that you always do at every networking event that you go to?
One thing I always do, good question. I always follow up with people within 48 hours.
That's good.
Yeah, you have to follow up.
Really
Yeah.
What's one thing to always avoid when you go to a networking event?
I think not having a plan.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan, otherwise you're gonna, even a plan is still going there to meet, just to be cash. Sometimes I'll go there and just say, okay, there's fun networking events, there's networking events now, they're mixed with Pilates and networking. I'm not going there to like strategize on my business. I'm just going there to have fun. So then that's my plan, to have fun, relax with someone who's interested in Pilates as I am, and if I meet someone there that I click with, we can then become friends. But my number one goal is to have fun. And
that's good. What's a misconception about networking that you like to clear up?
That networking gives you the ick. Networking is just another name for meeting people.
It actually is. It's
just meeting people, but with a plan. That's all it is.
And if someone was to go to an event right now, what advice would you give them to just like, you know, get started and make the first move?
I'll say just look inwardly. You know, you have to start with yourself first. So, you know, what are you hoping to get there for? What limiting beliefs do you have? Just give yourself a little pep talk before you go in.
You can do it.
You can do it. Like, think about what you're there for. And remember, if you get rejected, it's cool.
Everyone gets rejected.
Yeah, everyone gets rejected. Move. And you know what I always say? I'm one conversation away from changing my life.
Definitely.
That's all. You're one conversation away from changing your. I network with everyone. I network with people on the bus, on the train.
Oh, wow.
Always have, because once you get into it, you realise that you can't judge people. You don't know who's who, but you just know that you're not talking to people just for the sake of it. Do you know what I mean? You have a plan.
And just to wrap it up, I saw this TED talk the other day, and it was about there's 3 bones to successful networking. So the first one is the wishbone, so know what you want and state what you want. The second one is the jawbone, which is ask with humility and also know what it is that you're asking for, and also have done your research about what it is that you're asking for. And the third one is the backbone, so persist, because at the end of the day, your network is your net worth. And as Nadia said, you're one conversation away from changing your life. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you found it interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and our socials will be down below. And hopefully we see each other at Nadia's events. Thank you. Bye-bye.